Well, after taking a year-long COVID break from our Coffee with the Chief episodes, glad to get back on board here at Broadview Fire Department, and also fittingly during Women's History Month, we were able to sit down with Fire Chief Tracy Kenny, who is the leader in the Illinois Fire Service. So, if it's okay with you, let's jump into it and we'll ask some questions, let everybody learn.
Great.
Okay? First off, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Well, I have been in the fire service for 20 years. I started out, my dad owned a bar actually, and firemen would come in on a regular basis. Two really good friends of mine, the Keltinsky brothers, are like, come on, we know you want to do this. Get into paramedic school, do this, do this. So got into paramedic school, ended up getting a job as a paramedic in Melrose Park for 2 years. Did some testing, really wanted to be at Broadview. I knew the reputation, it was strong. They got to see fire. The ambulance ran a lot, so I was excited about that. So took the test and got on here. I'll give you a little, history later on, but was off here for a little while from layoffs and ended up coming back and said that's never going to happen again. So knew this was my home. I lived in town too, so it was important to be here. So I've been with Broadview now, minus the layoffs. I just kind of include that for pension reasons. So I've been here 17 years, been chief for the past 6, and was deputy chief the year before that. So.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, it's never a smooth path, is it? Seems
no,
like everybody's got bumps that.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the ride though.
Yeah, best job in the world without a doubt.
It is.
So what inspired you to come to the fire service and to Broadview?
I knew I always wanted to do this. Like this was, girls my age were watching Charlie's Angels and I was watching Emergency. Like it just was my thing. I always knew I wanted to do it. It was just a matter of getting myself in shape and doing it. My dad had opened a bar and said, give me 5 years of your life and then you can go and do whatever you want. So 3 years later I said, listen, I'm doing whatever I want. So that was when I got into it and started testing, and it's history from there.
Awesome. Who helped shape your career and your path?
In the early years, Jack Kowalski was my deputy chief, and Tom Gardner at the time had been my captain, and they were my mentors. I never really had a female mentor. I had guys at this department. Someone had just asked me some interview questions yesterday, and I said, it's weird because I never had that bad experience with men on the job as a female. Mm-hmm. They pretty much had always said to me straight up, we're going to make you good at the job so you don't embarrass us. I was okay with that because I really succeeded because of them. I was good physically at the job and mentally at the job because of both Tom Gardner and Jack Kowalski. And now, I think your career takes stages, and now I'm at the stage in this position where I now have a female mayor who's amazing, Katrina Thompson, and she's now my mentor. She's pushing me as a woman leader to do more than I ever thought possible, or I mean, sometimes to exhaustion, but I know that there's success coming out of it because I know this community is getting a lot from what we're doing.
Sure, and you're setting a great example for everybody else out there, right?
Good, yes,
you're
I
hope so. You're going to be inspiring some.
I truly hope so. And now, I say as a female, some early on in my career, I walked away from some jobs instead of addressing some issues that I had. I regret that. But now, in my position, I have the voice to change things and make it better. So now I can do that.
Mm-hmm. So. And I think also for the males on the job, you're changing that perspective, right? For some that may have been hesitant to accept that and to fully welcome, right, females on. So I think they're seeing what you've done and saying, hey, females can do this job just as well as we can.
Yeah, I hope so. Again, I've never really had that challenge. Even as a chief, I haven't had that challenge here with any of the members. They've come in with respect and give, vice versa, give it right back.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what's a piece of advice that you would give to young women that are looking to get into the fire service?
So I have a daughter who's a police officer. So in public safety in general, women, stand up for yourself. If something's not right, speak up and challenge that. But be ready for that challenge. It doesn't come easy. We are still a minority in this, and guys can stick together, and that can get difficult. But speak up for yourself. Be prepared for that challenge. And if it's something that, you ever need help or advice on, I always put myself out there. Like, I'll give you direction the best I can, but truly make it better for the next woman coming along, because I really feel like there's not enough women in my role in the chief's position because there's just not a lot of women in the fire service right now. We know the challenges that are keeping us from doing this. Get in shape for that CPAP. I plan to take it in 2 months. I was hoping to take it last month, but I plan to take it in 2 months to show that I can still physically do this job. Keep yourself in shape and be prepared to keep up with everybody.
Nice. And it is always in increments, right? And how we get better at things.
Yes.
So you're moving that ball forward.
Yeah, and then when you get into the fire service, you learn what your weaknesses are and how to improve upon them. Don't kick back. Just, do what you have to do to excel in each opportunity, whether it's mentally or physically. If you go to a job and you had a hard time with the saw, spend all day working on that saw, the next day, and get better at it. Same thing, someone gives you a challenge of, here, go write this grant, and you didn't get that grant. Well, I'm getting the next one because I know what I did wrong. Just keep putting those improvements on yourself. I think I put more pressure on myself than anyone on the outside ever does.
That's why you're the chief.
Yeah, I guess so.
Can you tell us a little about the history of the Broadview Fire Department?
Yes, we were originally in what is now the library in town, and that was back in 1941. I'm hoping I have that right. It gets foggy as you get older. But somebody from Oak Park came over and became the training officer, and our mayor at the Mayor Braga was actually, I think, the deputy chief. So it started off there. Chief Cody came along in 1950-ish. Now, we've only had 4 chiefs prior to me. It was Chief Cody, Don Gartner, John Tierney, and Tom Gartner. So 2 in the family. And in 1966, this building was built, and it's starting to feel it. So we've been established here since 1966.
Okay. And can you tell us about your staff and the number of firefighters on the job now?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, we had layoffs. We were 9-man minimum before. We're down to 6-man minimum now, which is up from 4 after layoffs. So we're increasingly getting back to where we were. Do I think we'll ever be at 9 again? No. But right now, we're able to do the job. And we have 6-man minimum a day. We run an engine and an ambulance. We used to have a truck. We used to have a squad. They just weren't moving. Seeing that truck go was very hard for me. That was my thing. I loved the truck. The squad just, unfortunately, was an apparatus that sat here, cost money to keep up, and insurance and everything. It just wasn't working for us. My main goal of this department to see in the next couple of years is running a second ambulance, because as we know, that's what's going on in the fire service now. We're paramedics over firefighters. Though we around here still do see fire, paramedicine is our number one thing. That call volume, even it's surprisingly with COVID that went down a little because people were afraid to use the ambulance. So our fires went up because people were home cooking. They probably didn't cook for a long time. So that kind of wavered. But I still think that 75-25 it was last year, and the year before was 87% EMS. I really think that that's having 2 ambulances here is important to us. So during the day, so as far as manning, we have 6 a day, but we also have a 7:30 to 3:30 second ambulance because we are the contract for Hines, Loyola, Madden. We see an increase of call volume during those times, especially on a Monday when people go to the doctor. So we've had 2 ambulances running. It's a sign-up basis, so it's not always running, but it's more often now than it was during COVID.
So having a fire department-based EMS, are all your people paramedics then?
Yes, everyone's paramedics.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
What apparatus do you have then after the cutbacks you've had to make?
So we do have an engine and a backup engine, and then we have a total of 3 ambulances, 2 that will regularly run and 1 a backup in case one of those is down. So that's my car, a deputy chief's car, and that's about it.
Running lean.
Yes, we are.
Pretty much everybody is. I mean, that's going on across the state
Yeah.
and probably nationwide too.
Yeah,
so.
I would love to. I've put in for a quint for the FEMA grant, whether that happens or not. That's a necessary item here. We're getting a nursing home in town. We do go to Loyola. We have high rises there. So for us, it's important to eventually have a ladder or a quint. So that is my next vehicle goal. So we'd run that if the call came in those volume areas, which are our target hazard. I'd run a quint over the engine.
Okay. And can you tell us about the demographics of the city?
So I think we just had, obviously, we just all had a new count, so we're about 8,400. We have a very diverse community. It used to be more African American than white, which we've seen change up with new ethnicities moving over. We have a very strong Hispanic area of our town now. Trying to say this all the right way. But I think that I'll give you an example. Our board for trustees that's running right now is really diverse and made up of how it should be to represent the community.
Sure,
and
they
I
reflect
love that.
the people that live here, right?
Yeah, and
That's
I
the way it
love
should
that
be.
because I just don't. And I'm going to be honest. Our fire department doesn't reflect the community.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason I started the Explorer program was to bring kids in from the area and educate them and get them, those who loved this job, and help guide them through the process to hopefully someday come back and be part of this. I would love for people in my own community to work at my department. I do. I live here and I work here.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love my neighbor to do the same. So it's a very mixed area, and I truly love it. So,
Awesome.
yes.
And that's a challenge everywhere.
It is.
Right, that the diversity in our fire departments.
It really is, and it baffles me sometimes. This is the greatest job ever, and especially in an area that has explorers. Now, I've lost explorer kids to departments that you only have to be an EMT and not a paramedic. It's like what I'm finding is financially, it's hard to take that next step. So that's my next goal with my explorer group. Is finding grants and more money for those kids so they can take that next step and come back here. Because you can't offer something to a community and then say, oh, well, now you can't afford to make it to my level. You have to find that money and help them. So that's a big goal of mine.
Yeah, those sustained efforts are tough, but
Yeah.
very much worth the effort, right?
Yes.
So with the outreach with the community, what do you guys do with that fire
We do
prevention?
so
and-
much here. We do the smoke detector program, which has been awesome for us. I believe we've, at this point, almost over 90, and 90 homes have got new smoke detectors. And we were doing it prior to with our own funds, but it was nice when that grant came along because that really opened it up for us, and we were able to get out there. And the best part of that is getting into people's homes, especially the elderly. You can make a little more effort, like, hey, tape down this rug so I'm not here tomorrow when you trip, So it got us into homes to do, we call them non-punitive inspections in homes. We have a lot of grandparents that do it before the summer just to make sure that they're not exposing their grandkids to something in the house. So we do that. The Explorer program, that is just one of my proudest programs here, and the guys do such a wonderful job at it. We also have a camp weekend, too, for girls. I started that when it was #MeToo going on, and not that I'm downplaying that at all. That is something that does happen, but I wanted to do a spin on it where how can I empower these girls
Sure.
and then talk, instead of talking about the defeating things that have happened. So we brought in 10 women from, I just looked it up, 10 jobs that women are the minorities. Brought in a chef, I brought in a financial advisor, I brought in an electrician, women from jobs that mainly, are male-based. And we do a 2-day camp, and we do activities with them and things like that. It's really fun. So that happens in the summer. We do a babysitter's camp. We are hoping to do 3 this summer just to bring kids in, because kids are home alone more now than ever. So it's not even just like a babysitter's camp. It's for young kids who are home, maybe caring for themselves or a
Sure.
sibling. So trying to focus on what the community needs, versus what's really out there. You kind of have to tailor it to your own town. And another one, My ID, it's a sticker that people can put on their refrigerator and their doors. It's just like, I can't think of the old thing we had for medications on the fridge. But it's similar, except they can have it in their wallet, on their wristband. If we have it for a lot of the patients in town that have dementia, and we're able
Sure.
to use just their QR code from our computer ambulance and pick it up, and it gives us all their
Oh, that's
information.
awesome.
So it's a really great program. I'm hoping it spreads around here.
Good.
So yes,
You're a good example for others to follow.
I
It's-
hope.
those are-
I hope everybody
good
does these
outreach.
things.
What are the other challenges that you see coming up?
Finances. It makes me so nervous. COVID was rough. We are, I'm going to say, very blessed in this town because the mayor said at the beginning of COVID, can we have the entire village staff not take a raise this year? And nobody took a raise. We trust her so much and have so much respect for her. We knew that that would help the community. So nobody took a raise in the last fiscal year. across the board.
Mm-hmm.
We also are getting an Amazon in town, so that is really helping us kind of bounce back from this. We don't have a lot of restaurants, but we had big box stores like Target and Home Depot, so that allowed us to, sustain during difficult times. I still think it's going to affect us somehow. Taxes in town and people not being able to pay their home tax, things like that. It will affect us. How we handle it is the important part. The fact that the mayor is giving us the opportunity to say, what can you do to keep your staff and not have something like layoffs happen again is very important to all of us. And she's very honest with the guys about that. You can't get a new parking lot this year. We have to put that off. And understandably, cutbacks will happen, but I won't ever take staffing cutbacks. We've been there before and we know what doesn't work, and that doesn't work. We can't maintain what we're doing here with the staffing cutbacks. So I think that'll be a challenge, and I think guys bouncing back, this was, I think, a really mentally difficult time for the guys. They were stressed at work, they brought it home. That worries me too. I want to make sure all my guys are okay as well. And I say guys, general term, I just have men here, so sorry. I do it all the time, and everyone says it's better coming from you.
Okay, well, I'm glad, because I said it earlier, so I'm glad you followed
I'm so
up.
used to that. Kidding, please.
So looking ahead to the future, what's your vision? What are some things that you want to take on?
Well, prior to COVID, I wanted 3 more members at this department, and we were looking good to have that happen. So I want to run a secondary ambulance 24/7. So if I had a 7-man minimum, I believe I can make something like that happen. So that is a really big goal. I want that quint. I want a new roof. I want a parking lot. I have this huge list going on. But I, too, have to find ways to make that happen. We have a wonderful grant writer doing some things here, and we've gotten things because of him. So you can't always count on grants. You have to find a way to get the money in. And it sounds almost like a business these days, but you have to make it work. So we're making it work. And like I said, we had a huge pipe break, and now we're getting a remodel in the building unexpectedly, so that's great because we needed it. But I'm also dealing with a building from 1966 that is now starting to show signs of major wear and tear, pipes and electric, and I have to keep up on that. So I have, since I became chief, I've put money aside for all those things over the years, and I've been keeping up with it, so I hope that works. But I want to see us grow some more. I want to see explorers. I just hired 2 explorers for full time. For me, that is like proof of the program working.
That's a win.
We really got those kids through the program. I've started a new program, a Junior Explorer program that starts actually the 2nd week of April. That will bring 8th graders in who will shadow the explorers. You got to grab them. One of the guys came up with this idea. This is not mine. But you got to grab them when they're in 8th grade. Well, they're still like, oh, what's fun? Well, this is fun. Before you get to high school, make friends and start doing stupid stuff. Come do this, and I'll hang on to you here before you get into that stuff. So
come do stupid stuff with us.
Exactly. Safe stupid stuff.
Right.
So I hopefully can get them, into the program at 8th grade, and then keep them and work with them and really get them through their high school years and gear them towards college. And then, because right now I'm getting kids at like 16, 17 who've already made some choices that, either they already have a path, and I don't want to throw them off it. I want to be a doctor. No, you want to be a fireman. No,
Right.
You can go be a doctor.
Right.
So I don't want it to be just, I like that it's extracurricular for some, but I want it to be a career-based program for most.
Awesome. And recently, the governor appointed you to the Firefighter Medal of Honor Committee. What does that mean to you?
That's such a privilege to me. It really is. I feel like when I walked in that room and I saw everybody there and I knew everybody there and what they've done, I was blown away. Honestly, I didn't feel like I was at the caliber of everyone there. And then to have that opportunity to see the stories of what guys have done to go above and beyond the job and be able to read those, that's overwhelming. Because you get into this and you know the level of risk you take, but to read the extreme risks that people have taken and to be part of a ceremony that honors people we've lost is just, I don't really have the words for that.
Yeah, it's a humbling
Yes.
thing to be involved with. And
Yes.
luckily this year we're scheduling for September Last year we couldn't do it, which was your first
My
year, which
first
is a
year,
shame
I'm like,
because of COVID. But this year we're looking in September. I don't have the exact date off the top of my head, but we're going to do it. So that's a good thing.
yeah, I'm very proud, and it's a privilege to be part of that.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we call it quits?
No, we just need to have some hope that things are going to get better. We see a lot of difficulties since COVID. Check on your guys and girls. Check on them. I started the mental health program for Division 20, and that's something I'm very proud of. And I check in with my guys on a regular basis and make sure everything's okay, and what can I do to make things better here. I want people to come to work and like their job. Again, you can do everything you're set out to do for the greater good. There's always going to be a guy that's not happy with it, and I don't expect to make everybody happy, but again, the greater good, what can I do? So since COVID, check on your guys and just make sure everybody's doing mentally as well as physically well.
And there's those silver linings in crises, things like that.
Yes.
Right. That taking care of your people becomes so much more important, and they tune into it and they start taking care of themselves.
Yep.
Maybe a little more than they used to. Right. So when this is all done, it sticks with them a little bit.
I think a perfect example of how strong this department has become is the day that we had the pipers, and it had been a huge snowstorm, and we'd been out all day, and we're freaking out. We just put a call out. Guys were coming in off duty to help make things better. And to me, that was like, okay, they get it.
Yeah, it makes you feel good, I'm
Yep,
sure.
they get it. So
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you sitting down and taking the time to talk with us and opening your station up to us. And
thank you.
the
Cheers.
excellent coffee you've got. So cheers. And everybody else out there, if you'd like your department to be a part of the Coffee with the Chief, now that we got fired back up, please get a hold of JC Fultz, our PIO, and he will get you lined up. Thanks for watching.